Welcome back to the Super Hornet Podcast. My name is Evan Hale, aka the Super Hornet. Today we got a very special guest. Second time on the show, Walker Mehl. You can find him on Locked On Hornets. You can find him on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. 92.7 if you're in Charlotte. Also, there's an app. You can listen to it there. Great listen. I don't live in Charlotte, and I listen to it all the time. Welcome to the show, Walker.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I do have a very important question because
Yes,
I don't know if your podcast is in the infancy stages still, but
Still,
definitely like kind of toddler stages. Am I the first multiple time guest in
yes,
Super Hornet Pod history?
yes, sir. Technically, there's a guy named Lee the Hornet. When I first started recording anything,
Okay.
but it wasn't this. It
I'll
wasn't
be
anything
second to
official.
Lee the Hornet. That's fine. Second place. I don't believe if you're not first, you're last. If you're second, you're second. I'll take that. So I will relinquish the only multi-time guest appearance to Lee the Hornet. Shout out to Lee.
Heck yeah. No, I mean that's kind of you're in NASCAR territory. First your last. If you ain't first your last, it's kind of serendipitous. So that's,
it's okay to be second. It's
okay
fine. I've been a Hornets fan for too long. I would love to be second. I would love to be second in the East. That I would love to finish in that spot. So
heck yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Actually, we didn't talk about this before the show. We were talking about what we're going to talk about. Did you see the NBA Cup announcements? Who were playing?
I did. Yep, got the email for it, and I did see it. And the thing about it is, I've seen some people say I like the draw. It's pretty nice. The problem is, everybody is saying that as soon as they see the Hornets in that draw as well.
Yeah,
so
that was my exact thought process. I went to other fan pages and I was just scrolling. I'm like, oh, we got the Hornets and the Bulls, or oh, we got the Hornets and the Heat, or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, our name's first in that regard. So
100%. So in East Group C, there are the Bulls, it's the Heat, the Bucks, and the Knicks, along with the Hornets. Those are your 5 teams. And so, yeah, I think the Bulls, that's the team that you think of that you would have any chance of being better than. Maybe you just think outright now after the offseason, you're better than the Bulls. Miami Heat getting Norm Powell for nothing kind of hurts us.
yeah, definitely.
But in that regard, yeah, like we'll put the ball out there, put it in the air for tip, and we'll see how the Hornets play because there's a lot of turnover with this roster, or at least new additions with this roster.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of am frustrated with how little the Heat had to give up to get Norm Powell. I mean, what was it? It was like a second round pick, Kevin Love.
I don't even know. It was nothing of consequence. Nothing.
Or that was at least to get John Collins. I kind of wish that was coming back to the Hornets. I mean, I haven't recorded too much stuff since offseason has started, since the draft. And man, we just need big play. And I mean, if we could have got John Collins for Nick Smith Jr. in a second, that's kind of basically what they threw up to him. Yeah. I think Kevin Love I don't think the buyout's officially gone through, but it's gone through, kind of like how the Bradley Beal buyout's going through.
Right.
But I mean, they just threw a box of rocks out to Utah, and they got a 3-team trade going.
I mean, everybody was mad that LeBron James took the final spot in the All-Star game from Norm Powell and decided that at the last second, I'm not going to play. But the story of that is that Norm Powell was a fringe All-Star and you got him for nothing. So I understand why you're frustrated, especially if you're jockeying for position in the East in a play-in tournament scenario to then parlay that into a playoff spot to get a 4-game series at the very least. Yeah, I guess Miami, if you felt like you were neck and neck with them, you add Norm Powell for nothing. It's going to help you a little bit, but we'll see. It's not insurmountable.
Yeah, no, I think Tyler Hero is going to be the point guard down in Miami, so you got to watch, I don't love their setup of their team. I think the Hornets could be better than Miami this year, but it depends on how healthy they are, how healthy we are. I mean, it all comes down to health, especially when talking about the Hornets. But, I mean, I think that's the Knicks group to win there. I think the Bucks will be hit or miss. We beat the Bucks once or twice last year. I know once for sure because I was at that game. I think we beat them once in Milwaukee too. But I know LaMelo also put his 50 piece against them, and it was the highest combined scoring outburst between two Hornets with him and Brandon having like 80 something points.
Yeah, the Hornets won in November 16th, and then they lost to the Bucks the next 2 times. But you're right, LaMelo loves playing the Bucks for whatever reason. The Pacers and the Bucks, those are the 2 teams. The Midwest, watch out when LaMelo's in town.
Maybe LaMelo put up a NBA Cup high for all time. That'd be pretty sick.
Would love to see it.
But yeah, no, I think that talking about just the NBA Cup in general, you talked about the Bulls. You think we're better than the Bulls. I think Bulls fans hope that we're better than the Bulls. I think the Bulls fan want to bottom out. I have a lot of Bulls fan friends and listen to a lot of people talk about the Bulls, and yeah. But I think a big way for us to be better than the Bulls is to have some of these young guys step up, and I think a big one for that is Tijon. And I've been seeing a lot of clips from they put out summer league clips on Instagram, and on Twitter. And I'm really excited to see what Tijon is, cooking up here. He looks, talk about muscle watch on Locked On Hornets. We got muscle watch for Tijon.
No doubt.
He looks bulkier, and people always talk about the Giannis comp, and I get the foreign guy, great length, great size, and you kind of want this dude who was undervalued coming over to blossom. I just, if he is if he's just a Jaden McDaniels, that's all I want. That would be incredible. Like, I'm not asking for him to be an all-star, all NBA, MVP. Just if he can go out there and create for himself, create for others, hit some open jump shots, and play some really good defense. That's all you need. And I think,
I think 3-and-D for Tijon Salon I would take right now, and because everybody views. It's funny how people view 3-and-D because you think they're a dime a dozen, but yet every offseason you want for your favorite team to go out and get 3 more. And so really they're not a dime a dozen. Like, you have to have both parts in order to be a 3-and-D guy. Shocker. So if Tijon Salon can hit shots from deep at a 36%, 37% clip, whatever that looks like in the next couple of years, still some work to do. But the shot looks a lot better than I think what people anticipated. We discussed a little bit in Summer League last year where it felt like he was ahead of schedule, really, because he was hitting threes.
In Summer League. It was incredible.
Yeah, so he hit some threes, know where you are on defense, provide some resistance with that big body that you have and that you can move a little bit. Yeah, man, I think that's what I'm looking for right now. I think that's the high end scenario in the next 2-3 years with Tijon still being a project.
Yeah, definitely. I know it's just clips and they're going to post the best clips, but it felt like they were scrimmaging and it was him. He was the one, getting the ball on a dribble handoff and dribbling into the end of the paint, and he, got double teamed and he kicked the ball to the corner for a 3. There's a video of him hitting a fadeaway jump shot. Video of him, catching the ball, dribbling around a defender and taking a 3. And obviously, like I said, they're going to play the best clips, but it feels like he feels the game a little bit better this year. And you can tell he's been working. All the clips have been working. And yeah, I just want to see him succeed.
Just takes reps, man. It's what it takes. Getting reps in Summer League, preseason, regular season, all of that stuff matters. And so now that you have a taste of what the NBA is like, you know exactly what you need to work on. He's clearly focusing on it. And that's something that Charles Lee and Jeff Peterson both praised when they selected him 6th overall last year, is that, this is going to be someone that puts the work in during the offseason and in the regular season and is going to play with this jovial personality. It's hard not to like Tijon. I think we all want it to work for him. I don't know if you don't like Tijon, it's because, fair enough, you might just not think he's the guy. Like, I think there's fair evaluation in that.
Yeah.
But I think everybody wants it to work with Tijon. You don't dislike his personality or his work ethic. And as long as he has that, man, experiment with the ball handling stuff this year every once in a while. But ultimately, I think if that skill ever develops, it'll probably be 3 years from now, 2 years from now, more so than we're going to see it a lot next year. But if you can just be a solid enough passer off of one dribble, all right, on the deck once, let's not get too crazy. I don't want to turn it over, and then just make the right read. Yeah, man, I think you're just looking for some borderline baby steps from him. But yeah, it's funny, man. We haven't been talking about him a whole lot, and it's understandable because they just drafted 4 different rookies and they signed 4 separate guards and they signed Mason Plumlee. So this isn't really the time to talk about Tijon, except we're going to have to in Summer League with his second year over in Vegas. So, yeah, man, it'll be interesting to see how he develops going into his sophomore campaign.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see him play. It's just, I think that part of the reason that the front office hasn't made a center move, like a bigger center move, is I think that, one, they believe in Ryan Kalkbrenner, and I believe in Ryan Kalkbrenner personally. I think that he could be somebody. The only concern I really have is just like lungs and having, like, you see that the big men coming over from college, having that stamina to last you the whole game. That's the only thing I'm really concerned about. But I think that what the front office is seeing is they believe in Tijon, and you're going to have Tijon there at your 4. Grant's out. I think his Grant's progression. I've been seeing the clips. I don't know if you've seen him, in the offseason. He's running. He's running like from. You took the clip of him like taking like a top of the key 3, running to the corner, taking a 3, running back to the top of the key, taking another 3. That is definitely something, I'm not expecting to be back to start the year, but maybe they're thinking you got Tijon, you got Ryan Kalkbrenner, and then Grant can run a little bit of small ball 5. Having those 3 be your 4s and 5s off the bench, it takes some of the weight off of Ryan Kalkbrenner to play so many minutes. It takes the weight off of Grant coming back and being coming back from injury, and it shows a lot of faith in Tijon. That's got me really excited.
The thing I like about Kalkbrenner, I'm glad you brought this point up because it's not one I think I've made on Locked On Hornets or Wesson Walker, really. But for instance, you look at all the big men in the draft that the Hornets could have taken, like a Kaman Malawach was somebody that was thrown out there. We threw out Kalkbrenner constantly because we thought he'd be a good early second-round target. But like Malawach played not even 22 minutes a contest last year.
Yeah.
And Kalkbrenner, each of the last 3 seasons, has played over 30. Each of the last 2, he's playing 34 and a half. So you're talking about really only missing, on average, 6 minutes per college basketball game. And it's not like he missed a lot. He played 35 games each of the last 2 years, played 34 each of the 2 seasons before that, his sophomore and junior season. And then his senior and super senior season, he played 35. He's played a lot of basketball. So it's a great point in terms of like, sure, you're going to be worried about these rookies because everybody suffers from a rookie wall. I know Brandon Miller, the one time that we talked with him, said, I don't believe in it. Yeah, like 82 games slaps you in the face, right? Like you play 35, and that's a lot in college. Double that, and add 12 more to it. That's how many you have to play in the NBA if you don't reach the postseason. But if you're looking for a big man that's as equipped to play a strenuous schedule as much as possible, making that transition, maybe this is your guy. All he did was play every single game, and all he did was play every single minute of those games.
Definitely. I didn't look at the minute breakdown, so that's a good thing to look at too for that. I mean, definitely. And I think him playing college for 5 years definitely added to that. I mean, Maxime Reynaud is another guy they could have taken, and I liked him offensively, but defensively, I just love what Kalkbrenner brings. And
no doubt.
Kalkbrenner, I mean, I liked Reynaud. I was watching a lot of highlights and didn't watch a lot of full games for them while I was breaking them down, just being second-round prospects. Reynaud feel like he was smoother on offense, and Kalkbrenner definitely is a little bit more like robotic at times, but he still scores the ball great, puts the ball in where he needs to, and he plays such good defense.
Well, and they're different players, right?
Like
sure. You're talking about Maxime is just he's a threat from really anywhere on the floor, including putting the ball on the deck. That's really what separates him is can you create your own shot even out from the 3-point line? Which I'm not asking Kalkbrenner to dribble at all outside 5 feet. And really inside 5 feet, I'm looking for lobs. I'm looking for maybe one dribble and then over your left shoulder where he has excellent touch. I mean,
his touch is amazing. That
touch is fantastic. Absorbs contact well too. Like I think, you could argue the ability to dish out the punishment might not be there as much, but I think he absorbs contact well, just like I've talked about with Con Knipple. I think both those guys do that. So yeah, man, there's a reason we were both wanting me and Doug were both wanting him in the Queen City. Even my other co-host Wes, like he wanted him. So it was nice that the 4th time was the charm on getting a guy that we had talked about so often and selecting him 34th.
Definitely. And I think honestly, all 4 of the rookies, even Liam and Simon, they take contact well. I think you watch a lot of like Liam, especially, he liked attacking the basket, and he had the injury, so it kind of took away from that a little bit in the second half of the year. He wasn't as explosive. He talked about how he played through the injuries and how he just wanted to be there for the team, and he's good now. But, he said it definitely felt like it pulled back on his game a little bit, playing through it instead of just taking the time off. But in the first half of the year, you see him attack, taking contact. And, those are the first half of their season, or first, I guess, like quarter of their season was against like lesser teams kind of tuning themselves up to play there in their conference play. But man, he just, attacked double teams, took contact, a lot of and ones. Zion James, defensive monster. Those guys are built for contact. He's built like a running back. He's got like wide shoulders. Just you could see him on the Panthers as like maybe a linebacker or something, especially with his size. But I think they just got some tough guys, some tough dogs, and that's just they filled in exactly what the Hornets need, at least offensively, and then Zion on defense and Kalkbrenner on defense. I'm excited, man.
I thought it was a great draft, and I think the most questionable pick, but probably the first round guys. I don't see a lot of frustration with the second round picks. I know there was some Rasheer Fleming love. I know that was he taken right before? I believe
he was the first pick in the
there you go.
second round. The Suns traded up to get him.
So I know people may have wanted Rasheer Fleming instead of Liam McNeely there at 29.
I was one of those guys.
Yeah, that's the guy that I would have wanted as well. I would have wanted Reynaud. Do you just take Reynaud and Kalkbrenner? Do you take both of them for different look centers, especially if the idea was to go with the rotation that you have right now? That's where it gets a little dicey. But yeah, I love the draft. I really do. Like Liam McNeely was high on a lot of people's boards. I can't tell you that I'd watched a ton of breakdown of him beforehand. I didn't expect them to be picking at the very end of the first. There was some second round prospect stuff, but we focused a little bit more on the top 12, 15 or so on Locked On Hornets and Weston Walker. At the same time, we had our targets, and I know a lot of people really liked Liam McNeely, the pedigree.
Yeah.
One of the top ranked high school prospects going to UConn. Injuries. And by the way, Matt Norlander of the Ion College Basketball Podcast, he put out there that McNeely was also battling pneumonia. I asked Liam about that on Weston Walker, and he didn't want to talk about it because they kept it hush mouth up in stores. And so I don't know if there's some like injury report finagling. I don't.
He didn't want to
get
get kind of trouble.
I don't know.
Hurley in trouble.
I have no clue. But when I asked him about it, he was like, "Well, I'm willing to play through anything." Like he kind of dodged it and smiled because he's got a great personality. But yeah, man, Liam looks like a really fun guy. All these guys are awesome to talk to. And we had that privilege of doing that on Weston Walker. So yeah, man, I'm excited about the class. It looks like they can all play, and we'll see how they all acquiesce to the NBA.
Is it okay? So you've interacted with the guys. Is it Sion or Sion?
It's Sion. No, Sion. I made that mistake where and I was an idiot for doing it because I covered him in college and finally got to Sion. They draft him after a couple of months of not thinking of college basketball anymore. I go right back to Sion James for a day on both platforms. And then I'm like, wait, it's Sion anyways.
Yeah.
Long story short, it's Duke, ION. Like I immediately go to Ion. Zion.
Yeah.
No, man, it's Sion. So anyways, we got your name right now.
Yeah, I've heard it both ways, and that's why. But I wanted to clarify. I wanted Rasheer Fleming during the draft. I did a live stream. Hornets, trademark Williams, and I'm like, oh, we got another pick in there. And Fleming kept falling every pick. I'm like, one more pick, let him fall. He just kept going. I'm like, he's going here though. He wouldn't go, and then Liam fell too. And I want to say, just as a person who's been is so involved in the community with the Hornet stuff, Liam is just such a cool guy.
Yeah, no doubt.
Dude, he has liked 8 of my tweets about the Hornets.
Yeah.
Not even anything to do with them sometimes. He's retweeted. I've been working on trying to get better at video editing, so I started to do sports edits. He was the first guy I made one for. I posted, he retweeted it in 5 minutes. So I'm like, oh my god, he's just in touch with the community. Very cool guy. I've seen his interviews. He's just a down to earth guy. I like all the rookies. I think they're all great. But I was like, oh, just seeing how they're involved with the community and how they want to be involved. I think that's cool. It's that next generation of athletes is.
Yeah, we talked with Kalkbrenner today to complete. I joked about completing the Infinity Gauntlet, where now WFNZ has talked to all the draft picks and Jeff Peterson. But talking with Kalkbrenner today, he probably was the best blend of personality and length, where Sion was real polished. He's already giving me coach speak, but already also, just a really good interview. Liam McNeely is the most fun. He's 18, can kind of hear it, but also all the personality. So it was fun to talk to all those guys, man. They got a bunch of good dudes.
Yeah, I was also super lucky too, just how it all lined up for me. I got to see 3 of our rookies play in person because I went to the Raleigh March Madness games, and I went to all the sessions, and Duke played and UConn played. So UConn played Oklahoma and Duke played. Who did they play? Mount.
They played Florida in the second round.
Yeah, I went to the first time. They went to Mount. They played against Mount Saint something.
St. Mary's, probably.
Mount St. Mary's, probably something like that. There's 2 of them, so I didn't want to get them mixed up.
Yeah.
But no, and I got to see them all play, and I also Jeremiah Fears was played there. Obviously Cooper Flagg and Kama Malawach, and got to see a lot of guys who've made the NBA. Walter Clayton Jr. Those guys are all fun,
playing well,
fun to watch, and they, it made the draft more fun. I think this go around. Yeah, so I wanted to get your insight on what you think is going to happen. Because I feel like Doug is the more speculative one on Locked On Hornets, so I don't get to hear your idea. You're the more positive. Oh, it's going to work out. Doug's like, put the hat on. But what are they going to do?
It changes. It's interesting to hear. It is interesting to hear what people think of both of us, because I think mostly we balance each other out. I
Yeah,
think that
definitely.
ultimately, you kind of conform to whatever the other one is doing, and we've developed. God, we've been doing it since 2018. But
Y'all
yeah,
do a great job.
sometimes I think you're right. I think that's more fair to say with Doug that he's always going to be speculative. He's high ranging, man. Like when
Mhm.
they trade for Colin Sexton, boom, baby, we're on the way. We're going. All righty. And
Yeah,
then when they signed Mason Plumlee, great. We reverted back to our old ways. And so we
yeah.
balance each other out.
I feel like you're more down the middle, and he's more like the wishy washy
Oh, yeah.
one.
He's going back and forth,
But
man.
Happy Doug is one of the most fun things to watch on the internet.
I know. I
Not,
want more of it. I want more of it.
hey, I'm
Happy Doug
hoping
is great.
I'm hopeful for this year, but I feel like at least this offseason, he's been the more like, oh, they're making trades, oh, they're not making more trades. He's like, maybe they're not. What do you think, like, with this big man depth? Do you think, like, what I was talking about earlier, that maybe they're just going to wait for Grant Williams to come back, let them kind of figure it out, they believe in Tijon, or do you think that another move for another big is going to be made this offseason?
Man, I just don't know. So we've gone with the roster crunches. That's my biggest issue with Mason Plumlee. And again, when we talk about Mason, it's not that he broke the bank. It's not like you're gonna have to be dealing with this contract for 4 years. It doesn't mean that it sets your clock back for so many years because you made this stupid move. No, I don't want to get too lost in the sauce on it. What I do think is there's a little bit of a bad process, in my opinion, because I think if you bring in Mason Plumlee to play that Taj Gibson role, which is great, like I value veteran leadership in the locker room, I think that's real valuable. But if you're playing the Taj Gibson role, Taj didn't play until he had to when
Yeah,
everybody got injured. So, okay, are you playing Mason 20 minutes a night? Are you playing him 17 like he did in Phoenix? Or are you wanting him to ride the pine for most nights and impart old vet wisdom on Musa Diabate and Kalkbrenner? But man, I mean, you've got two centers outside of Mason. Mason's going to play, and maybe he even opens up as the starter just because he's by far the most experienced big guy. Okay, so you bring in Mason Plumlee, and well, it's fine. We'll just go get another center after all the trades, after all the signings, after none of these rookies going on a two-way deal. You got to dwindle this roster down. You got 19 right now. Luckily, you have some time to work with. You don't have to dwindle it down to 15 until I think October 15th or October something. So you have time. Like there's no reason to panic. At the same time, it's still an issue you got to deal with. Whereas if you just never sign Mason with the intent to go after one of these centers out there on the trade market, or just go get one early in free agency, which it seems like they might have missed the boat on.
yeah,
Like I would have rather have preferred those two options than just saying, okay, we need to go get some big guy. We have familiarity with Mason. Our guys like him. Let's just lock him in. It's the roster space, man. Like Nick Smith
definitely.
Jr., Josh Okogie. Like if you wanted Okogie to play some defense for you, it makes it a little harder to keep him on the
Mhm.
roster now. Doesn't mean that you can't, just makes it a little harder. So, anyways, that's where I am now. I don't know. I think the Hornets would probably package a couple of these guards to go after an adequate enough big man that you felt a little better about. But at that point, now you're talking about a 4-man rotation. Like I want Kalkbrenner to get minutes.
Yeah,
I want Musa Diabate to get minutes. Are you signing Mason and then going after someone else and then just taking all of Mason's minutes away? I think it's really hard for me to figure out right now. So that's why I was frustrated by it. Yeah, I think everything's on the table now.
definitely. I mean, you have what, 6 days until Kogie's contract isn't, you know, because it's basically gone. Does he walk at that point? Is that how that works, or
You were breaking up a little bit. You're just talking about Okogie's guaranteed
guaranteed?
contract.
Yeah, because I was trying to understand how that works. So if
Well,
I know
no,
the 15th
sorry.
doesn't
So
work
what
out,
happens is if he's on the roster on that, I believe it got pushed back to July 15th. So we're
15th.
talking
Yep.
about, yep. So if he's on the roster by July 15th, that money becomes guaranteed and he's locked
Mm,
in. So that's the guaranteed roster. If you waive him / trade him, and I guess I don't know like the trigger lock-in stuff with Okogie on what that means for when he's traded, but I do know if you decide to waive him, then you obviously don't have that money on your books. And so
yeah,
they just have that deadline to figure out what they're going to do with him.
definitely. So I mean, I guess if you want to give other teams a chance to have roster flexibility, you might want to get on a trade. I mean, I could see him getting moved for something small. If that happens, then
Right.
who knows?
Right.
Maybe a couple of seconds, But other than that, you have the 18 guys left to make moves on. You have 15 roster spots. You have 3 guys you got to get rid of. I mean, I feel like Nick Smith Jr.'s days are numbered on this roster.
It feels like it.
I even feel like if you trade Nick Smith Jr. away and you're trying to improve the roster, I think Josh Green's days might be numbered to a degree because the contract size. What is this, $13 million a year?
Yeah, it's funny how differently we view that now. We viewed it last year as, oh, okay, that's fine. And then now, given all the contracts that were given out this free agency period, now it's like, okay, he's making more than Trey Mann. That doesn't seem right. I mean, yeah, Trey got injured. We all know it. But yeah, I think the guys that would be on the chopping block, chopping block, Josh Green, Nick Smith Jr., Daquan Jeffries, Josh Okogie. I think those are your four that you're looking at. And that
Jeffries didn't even cross my mind because I feel like he's just as good as gone in my brain.
Right.
I love Daquan Jeffries.
Oh, yeah. Like I've called him an innings eater a couple of times. Like just playing hard for us. We'll always give you a tip of the cap for that 1 year we were crazy injured again, and you played a lot of minutes. But I think those are the four. So if you cut those four or trade them, then you're down at 15. But I mean, if you're trading, then you're bringing back a player unless you're just trading picks. So you're down at 15, which still means you can't go after another guy. So now somebody else has to get cut if you're trying to make room for another center. So you got to cut 5 guys, and that fifth one, the fifth one is the tough one.
Definitely. Especially with the rookies getting all guaranteed deals.
Yeah, which by the way I loved, and I've said that a million times. But yeah, I was scared. Like I'm in on Sion. I'm all in on him providing a different skill set than the other guards that you signed, just being a different archetype player. I really did not want him to be on a 2-way, and I'm glad that they avoided that.
I definitely agree. The one thing with Okogie is I'm kind of bummed because I feel like he is going to be a guy who is gone. Right. I would have liked to see Sion with him, as a kind of a mentor figure. Because
good point.
Okogie has been a guy that I enjoy all aspects of basketball, but Okogie is a guy I've had the most fun watching play defense ever. Like he has a different energy to him, especially when you're in the arena. Oh my gosh, it's just like.
Well, we'll always have. Well, I'm looking up his game log now. Was it against the Suns, or am I just confusing?
It was the Suns. I was at that game.
Okay.
He went crazy that game.
Right. So I was wondering if I was just getting that wrong because that's where he came from. But yeah, we'll always have that game where he goes for. It was the 25-pointer against Sacramento, but that was in a monster loss. And then we have the 19-point game against the Lakers. The 16-point game against the Portland Trailblazers, that one was not the bad Portland game. That was a decent one. But yeah, the defense where he's just forcing turnovers constantly, it was a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, I wasn't at the Portland game, but I was at I was at the Suns game, the Sacramento game, and the Lakers game. He had great games against all those guys, and it was definitely he had he maybe I'm good luck when I'm at the games with him, but
keep going.
Every game I was at, he had great games, and that Suns game, I think it broke a losing streak for us. So it was there was a lot of excitement too. I think we beat the Suns. I know that, but it was I didn't expect us to win that game. We won that game, and it was oh, this is a nice little surprise being there. Which was that's exciting.
Yeah, and you need to keep going if you're good luck, man.
I'm not. I have I don't know if you've used at Momentum before, but it you can track all the games you've been to, and I love it's Memento, not Momentum. But it has also says your record for the games you've been to.
Oh no.
Teams. I'm just gonna pull it up real fast because it's not good. But
well, and it's not fair. It's not fair to you. It's not fair to all the other Hornets fans. If you go a lot, then yeah, you're at the mercy of having a terrible Memento record.
I've been to 49 Hornets games, so my next one's gonna be 50. Yeah, especially because I drive 3 hours each way to go to the game.
I guess that was just last year, right? Wasn't that just last year for the most part?
No, I've been going to games for the last.
I guess you can't go to 49. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. So, the last 2 years is what I'm saying.
So yeah, I went to my breakdown is I've been a Hornets fan since 2014, 13.
Oh,
okay,
okay.
But
more than I thought. Okay.
Well, but I didn't go to a game in the Spectrum Center until 2019.
Gotcha.
No, sorry, no, it was 2022. I'm lying to you.
Right after COVID, then.
Right after COVID,
gotcha.
The restrictions weren't bad. We were talking about. I remember my buddy talking about. It was a Raptors game. It was Scotty Barnes. It was Scotty Barnes' rookie year because he won Rookie of the Year that year.
Okay.
Right? I went back-to-back games against them and the Bulls, and Lonzo had just got hurt, so I was like, "Oh, I can see LaMelo and Lonzo play." But the Raptors game was the game that was the game after they announced LaMelo was going to be the All-Star replacement. So they did a whole presentation. It was really cool, and then I started going to games heavily the next season, and I went to a bunch of games, and Now I've seen every team play in the Spectrum Center except for the Trailblazers. That's my last team I got to see play.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
But, it's honestly 13-39. It could be worse for the last couple of years.
It could be. It could be. That's like the thing where people hold LaMelo accountable for a terrible record when he plays, but it's also like, okay, look at the record when he doesn't. So let's look at the record when you don't go. I'm sure it's much worse.
I blame Mitch Kupchak and Michael Jordan for my record being so bad.
It is their fault. They didn't do anything to supplement you. Like they didn't put enough talent around you. They need to get better people around you.
I watched Nathan Mensah start games,
And you'll do it again with the Spurs, damn it, and you'll like it.
It's really cool. I watched the Spurs. This is not Hornets related at all. But I was like, oh, the Spurs are playing. I saw, oh my God, Nathan Mensah playing. And you know what's crazy is I turned the game on. I was a little late, and he rolled his ankle like a second into me watching the game. And I'm like, oh my God, this is how it goes.
So I feel bad because it just kind of happens. I don't target a certain player to make them the example, but it just kind of happens because there's always going to be a ridiculous name for the Hornets that gets way more playing time than he should. And it's not their fault. But what happens is that we have all these injuries the last few years. And then I go with, instead of kicking to the corner or throwing a lob to the starter, you're throwing to player X. And so that player has been Nathan Mensah for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And this year, poor Marcus Garrett didn't even play all that much. But I keep going to Marcus Garrett. And it's no hate, and I apologize. But he's kind of taking that place from Nathan Mensah.
Respect Marcus Garrett. He's still in the organization.
Wore it best. Marcus Garrett wore it best. So we got to give him a shout.
What number was that? He wore like 39.
I don't know.
It was like 39. I got to look it up now. Because he wore 13 for the Swarm, and he couldn't wear that, which always ticks me off because 13 is my number. So whenever I play 2K and in my career, I can't wear my number for the Hornets.
28. Marcus Garrett is 28. Yeah, he's the only player in Hornets history to wear the number 28. So he wore it best. Congratulations.
Yeah, no. Maybe Jalen Sims wore a number in the 30s that I'm thinking about. But
we can't. I will not have that. I cannot have my second appearance be looking up Marcus Garrett and Jalen Sims numbers. I can't do it. It's so sick. I'm throwing up. I can't do it.
Yeah, no, but to get back to where we were talking about Nathan Mensah, I'm watching the game, right? And I didn't keep up with like every team's summer league roster.
Yeah.
And they say this name. I don't know if you heard this guy's name. It's Josh Udajej, right? He plays for them. Josh Udajej played at Coastal Carolina, which is my local college. I got my hat right here. Shout out Coastal.
Oh, sick.
It's the first time I have ever heard a Coastal Carolina player ever mention an NBA setting in my life because they don't do that. They don't make it to summer league or anything. They're not a basketball school. It's a baseball school, if anything. And I was like, oh my God, like I talked to this guy. Now he's playing the summer league. It was just kind of neat. I was like,
oh no, it is cool. It's a great point because I mean the Panthers signed a Coastal Carolina basketball player before an NBA team did.
Exactly.
Wild.
Hey, wild. Coastal Carolina's got a great history with the Panthers at least. Mike Tolbert and Josh Norman.
That's right, Mike Tolbert, an all-time beach chicken, no doubt about it.
Oh my God, I gotta love it. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. I think we talked about some sicko stuff there at the end. Shout out Marcus Bolden. I wanted to bring his name up because he wore number 3 right after Rozier left, and it was like, oh my God, it felt like sacrilege.
Yeah, Marcus Bolden on that trip with Mark Williams and a couple of guys to the Boston Celtics championship game in the locker room. Marcus Bolden was there. That. Yeah. That's how I'll always remember Marcus Bolden.
Oh my God. That is crazy.
I know. Man. Wild. But anyway, did you want to wrap? Did you want to wrap on Marcus Bolden? We can't. We got to put a better bow on this podcast. We have to.
We didn't mention Colin Sexton. I was just
let's do it
for 2 minutes. We're talking about Colin Sexton because the one thing I was thinking about is talking about a Kogi with Zion James. I think that Sexton could maybe be that guy that kind of is a good mentor for him specifically. I think, they have that high motor. Sexton is a very underrated defender. I think playing in Utah and playing for the bad Cleveland team, hurt his overall image on defense. But I think you put him in a good system. I think Charles Lee in general is going to be good for both of those guys. I think that I agree. He feels like the perfect coach for Colin Sexton, especially.
I'm glad you brought up Colin Sexton's image. Like I've touched on that a little bit, but you're right, man. I feel like Colin Sexton developed this reputation of being a good stats, bad team guy, playing on a bad Cavs team post LeBron era, and also playing on a terrible, actively tanking, awful team with Utah for a couple of years. And so with Colin Sexton coming over here to Charlotte, I like that you have a chance to kind of reclamate that reputation. And through, I'm not saying he's an amazing basketball player. I'm not saying he's an all-star. I'm not saying that. But he's probably been unfairly criticized for who he is as a ball player. And coming over to the Hornets, they can start to take care of these playoff absences. Check those boxes off together. I saw Hunter Bailey. Shout out to Hunter, who's does a great job covering the Hornets as well.
Yeah.
He tweeted out that Miles Bridges and Colin Sexton were second and third on the most amount of NBA games without a playoff appearance to this point, and now they're teaming up to see if they can end that streak. So I like forces joining to see if they can get rid of that streak. But yeah, man, I'm with you on the image of Colin Sexton. Hopefully this is a year where people can start to take notice. No, he's a good player, and he's worth more than Yusuf Nurkic.
Oh my God! Yeah. And in a second,
right.
When I saw the trade, I'm like, oh, I said out loud, we only give up a second round pick. Yusuf Nurkic for him, and then already I'm like, we got the second round pick. That's
a wild trade. It's a wild, we've talked about it countless times, man. I don't understand it from Utah's standpoint. No matter what you throw at me, there's a quite obvious argument against whatever you throw at me in terms of defending traded Colin Sexton. We want more shots for our young guys. Okay, fine. You want to trade Colin Sexton? Get more than what you got. You can also be bad and tank with Colin Sexton on your roster. Just look at, I don't know, this past season. You could, if you don't think he's very good, okay, that's fine. See if you can actually keep him on the team, reclamate his trade value, and then see if you can trade him at the deadline. There's not a door that you can open that makes sense to me as to why Danny Ainge attached a second round pick to go after Nurkic, unless you just think Nurkic is this amazing. Maybe that's the door that you could potentially walk through. Even so, man, it's hard to open that for me.
Yeah, it was because it was just, it's crazy. And then they give up John Collins for nothing. I think I could run a team better than that. I don't know anybody. I've never done anything remotely like that. But God,
I'm not making the deal. If Jeff Peterson calls me and says, we'll give you Nurkic, we want Colin Sexton and a second round pick, I'm not making that deal. I'm not doing it.
On an NBA perspective, if Jeff Peterson's calling my phone, I'm hanging up because I'm not gonna look like an idiot because that's what he does at GMs.
He got one over. Well, no, it wasn't Jeff Peterson yet. I think it was. So the Hornets, I think Schlotkin, they got one over on Sam Presti with the Gordon Hayward deal.
Oh yeah.
Jeff Peterson was not in charge yet. I don't think so.
No, he wasn't. Mitch was still there. It was because I think Mitch left right after the deadline.
Yep.
And then Jeff was introduced in April, like the last month of the season.
If the Hornets call, it doesn't matter if it's the Schlotkin monster, doesn't matter if it's JP. We're just winning trades left and right.
If Jeff Peterson calls me to offer me something, I might hang up the phone. I might get scared that I'm going to get,
it's too late. He already stole something from you. Too late.
Just last thing you were talking about, with Sexton, we both talking about his previous teams. It feels like the Hornets and Colin Sexton both just got a really nasty divorces with toxic people, and they've come together, and Sexton with his previous teams and the Hornets with their previous regimes. Yeah. And now that they're trying to make something better together, and I like that. It's just great.
No, they found each other. It's the right time. You're not bothered at all about them finding each other so soon after their divorces because it was so nasty.
Yeah,
they were living in the same house for sure, but they were in separate rooms. They weren't sleeping together anymore. That wasn't happening. And my God, there wasn't much dialogue between the two inside that house. And so I'm with you. It's okay that it happened so soon. And hopefully this is the happy time. The second, third, whatever time it is for these guys, hopefully this is the right one.
Definitely. I'm also one more thing because I was just thinking about it because we're thinking about the guards.
I do this all the time.
Yeah, I know. I love when you guys do it on the show because you guys, it's just I think the episode's gonna be over. Nope, we got a couple more minutes.
But David Locke is not happy with us. We're supposed to end at a certain time, and then the one more thing train keeps going.
This will be the last one more thing. We didn't mention Spencer Dinwiddie either. Spencer Dinwiddie, I think his signing, I think there's a chance that he gets moved. I think Colin Sexton, from everything that they've presented, is like a Hornet, and he's going to be a Hornet, and he's happy to be a Hornet.
Right.
Dinwiddie maybe is more of a guy that you can move to the deadline, maybe just a guy to be there for extra to see what have you. But I think the way that they are assembling the roster, and also the Summer League lineup, I don't know if you saw, but they have Sion James starting with the Summer League and Con at the 3. I don't know if the front office maybe sees Con as a 3. If that's the case, I think that Sexton's going to be starting, and I think Con is going to come off the bench with Trey Mann and Dinwiddie as your backup guards.
And that's what I always thought. Or at least with Khan coming off of the bench is what I always thought. Colin was a little more interesting. I don't know what the Josh Green caveat in all of this makes things interesting. Is he going to be healthy enough? And then, Charles Lee played him 30 minutes a pop last year because defensively you could depend on him. So I just don't know where Josh Green fits into all of it. But yeah, Khan coming off of the bench, that makes sense to me. But you're right in terms of you go after Spencer Dinwiddie. Another interesting thing here to realize is you did go after a couple of big guards, right?
Yeah.
If you want physicality, you have that with Colin Sexton.
Mm-hmm.
You have that with Sion James. Con Knipple is not soft by any stretch of the imagination. And Spencer Dinwiddie can probably play up a little bit. If you're looking at 3-guard lineups, then Spencer probably is better suited to be a 3 in some of your small ball lineups, if that makes sense. Like if you're going with, LaMelo's tall, but he's always the point guard, so he doesn't count. So you're talking about LaMelo at point always when he's in the game. Then it's like Colin, Trey, maybe Khan and that, secondary ball handler role, which Spencer can play. But then you could have Spencer, if you just want a whole bunch of guards out there at the same time, Spencer maybe could be that other guard in your 3-guard lineup. So you got physical, you got some big guys that you're going after too. Yeah, it's a different type of perimeter player that they prioritize this offseason.
A lot of three. We talked about 3 and D before.
No doubt.
We got some D, but we got a lot of 3, and that's
we got physicality. We got some toughness, man. Like I'm with it.
I'm definitely here for it. Well, Walker, thank you so much for being here. You're just such a great voice in the Hornets community.
Thank you.
You do great work, and nothing but appreciation for you and that listen to WFNZ whenever I can. 12 to 3 is kind of the middle of my work day. So if I'm off, I'm listening.
Such is the midday, man. Thanks a ton for the kind words, man. I appreciate it. I love my sickos. I love talking with everybody. It's so great to hear everybody. And I appreciate you having me on again, man. We'll make it. We'll go for 3. I got to beat Lee the Hornet. I got to be on more than he does. So.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for being here, man. You have a good one.
Yeah, man. Thanks again.